Welcome to GovCast, connecting with federal IT's top decision makers. I'm your host, Amy Kluber. The Social Security Administration maintains and administers the benefits and records of tens of millions of Americans nationwide every month. These benefits, as we know, include retirement payments as well as benefits for disability and survivors. In 2021, 57 million Americans per month received some Social Security benefit, and that number will grow. The agency expects it to go from that 57 million last year to 76 million by 2035. But as vital as they are, these programs are being managed on systems designed 30 years ago, which is why agency leadership has placed IT modernization to be a key focal point in the agency's strategic direction. CIO Sean Brune has been at the agency since an internship in 1999. Over that time, he's seen quite a change at the agency. Brune breaks down for us where the agency is at in its modernization journey, plus how he sees emerging technologies and directives impacting what's to come. Sean, welcome to the show. It's great to have you today.
Thank you, Amy. Good to be here.
Now, you are quite the SSA veteran. You've been there for quite some time. What brought you to the agency?
Amy, that's a great question. Good starter. So I joined federal service after completing my graduate degree, and I began, the exploration of federal service based on, a recommendation of one of the professors in my graduate program. And I entered federal service as a presidential management intern. They're now called Presidential Management Fellows. But as a intern finalist, I interviewed at several federal agencies in DC, and I live in the Baltimore area. I was drawn to Social Security because of the mission. I find it rewarding to help people, and each month, over 70 million beneficiaries and SSI recipients depend on SSA, the benefits they've earned and that we pay monthly to meet their daily needs, to buy food and shelter and medicine. And that's an extraordinarily positive way to make an impact. People request our service at Social Security Administration at almost every major milestone in their life. When they have a birth of a child, they receive a Social Security number. At the first job, that Social Security number is often checked by their employer to report earnings. And then, as they go through life and get an apartment or a house, sometimes they, prove their income with the Social Security number. At a marriage, some people change their name in our records. Sometimes, unfortunately, folks call upon us for service when they're experiencing a disabling health condition. And then as they move from health into, their, retirement years, they call on us to, get the benefits that they've rightly earned. And, even through death, as if they're a beneficiary, their spouse often calls us and reports the death of a spouse or a loved one. And so we're there when people need us. Our programs are complex, and our employees use technology to make sure that each person gets accurate information and that each individual gets the benefits that they've earned and are entitled to receive. So it was really the mission that drew me to Social Security Administration.
It's certainly a pretty powerful mission. I mean, having that safety net, I think a lot of people don't realize it until they experience some of these life stages that agency is there to support them. And also, I'm sure the technology aspect is just huge in this. And over your time at the agency, how have you seen the agency and technology evolve over that time?
Boy, Amy, as you can see just in the world at large, technology evolves rapidly. And at Social Security, it is really at the center of everything we do to administer our programs. And the growth of technology, evolution over time has just been astounding. In the early days of our program, Social Security was one of the major federal agencies to really expand computing horizons, the size of our database and the technology we use to maintain earnings files for every worker. It pushed the limits of what was available at that time for data storage, data processing. Obviously, we've come a long way since that time. And, at the time where I was born, often our technicians in field offices across the country were taking information in paper and sending it here to Baltimore for entry into our record systems. And that was all done paper and mail and then centralized data entry. And that evolved, obviously. Now, all of our field office employees, hearing office employees across the country use modern, laptops with, a wide area network that, checks our records, interrogates information instantaneously, updates records in real time. We serve beneficiaries, domestically and abroad. And so we're really a 24/7 operation, 365 days a year. We've embraced modern technology, not just tolerated it, really used it to adapt our programs to be more responsive to the public and more timely in answer. Recently, we've implemented things like expansion of robotics processing automation, artificial intelligence for big data analysis. These things help us to give the right answer quickly. And that's important for the public we serve. In the last couple of years, as our nation and the world have responded to the COVID-19 pandemic, we've adopted technology broadly. We've expanded video meetings and interviews with the public using the video. We've explored, contactless technology for in-person service, as is the case with many merchants across the country. The public is very comfortable now as a result of, social distancing and inability to visit physical locations with ordering things online. Increasingly, members of the public are, signing up for Social Security benefits online. We now get close to 65% of our claims for benefits submitted online. So technology has been, at the forefront of everything Social Security does to serve the public and to make sure that we fulfill our core mission responsibilities.
And the possibilities really are kind of endless when we're talking about technology. You mentioned some of the things already, but SSA has been undergoing such a broad IT modernization effort. I believe in your IT strategy itself, you even cite the need to modernize on systems that were designed 30 years ago. So where's the agency at in that process and bringing in some of these new, exciting, emerging technologies to help alleviate some of those burdens?
Well, thank you for asking. We've been undertaking a structured IT modernization program. We're in our fifth year. It began in federal fiscal year 2018, and it was really targeted to both deliver, new business capability to serve the public, but also to migrate some of that old technology that you referenced to newer technology platforms. Now, we maintain all of our technology. So even, application code that was designed 30 years ago, we've updated it and, moved it to more modern database formats and more modern computing infrastructure. But you're right, the fundamentals of our, core processing of benefits claims were designed decades ago. They are stable. They're compliant with, the law and our program regulations. But putting them in more modern application architecture on more modern computing platforms like the cloud infrastructure has improved, flexibility. Bottom line, cost-wise, it is a value to the taxpayer. And then ultimately, the goal is to be more responsive to the public. We've made great progress. Our modernization programs expanded and increased the use of digital self-service for Social Security benefits. We've added new capabilities for employees in our local offices across the country, both field offices and hearing offices. And when the COVID pandemic hit, we moved rapidly to modernize our infrastructure to support full remote work by our employees and technicians across the country while continuing to deliver on our core mission of providing Social Security number cards, taking claims, and providing benefits for retirement survivors and disability insurance, as well as supplemental security income. We continue to modernize, even though our model of service has adjusted. Before the pandemic, many Americans came into field offices to get answers to their questions and sat across the desk from one of our employees. Over the last 2 years, we've adjusted that to handle all our transactions digitally online or by phone, and increasingly by video. And those provide convenience for the public and security, and they also allow the public to have access to our programs, even though our due to health measures, our field offices have been not open to the public except for certain workloads. That's changing in the coming months. We'll be reopening offices to public contact. We ask that the public, where they're able to, go online first or call and schedule an appointment to visit a field office. That helps them know when we can handle their request and helps us to process the work efficiently.
That's certainly something that's common across government that I've been hearing from many different agencies, as far as, the BC times of before COVID, and how technology strategies really kind of pivoted over the past 2 years to accommodate more of these new realities that the public is facing, and wanting more, virtual capabilities and even the workforce impacts. So thinking about that, and then kind of over these next couple of years and that strategy you mentioned, what are some of the major initiatives within some of your new tech priorities in the short term?
Sure. Well, Amy, technology is going to continue to evolve, and new options are going to become available. And, the preferences of our customers, who is really the entire American public, those preferences for service also change. So what we're looking at going forward in our next phase of digital modernization is to focus on improving the customer experience by reducing the burden on the public we serve. We'll do this by looking at changes in our workflows to eliminate requirements in our policy where we require a person to visit in person in face-to-face interview. Sometimes we do that for program integrity and security reasons, but we can eliminate and reduce those needs for visits and conduct the interviews virtually by video or phone. We're also going to look at reducing the need for presentation of hard copies of documents. Most everything is available in a digital format now. We can check records with authoritative sources electronically. This, is convenient and secure for the public, and it reduces time to adjudicate their request. And then finally, we're going to look at, where is possible to move away from, paper documents with pen and ink signatures. And if we need a signature, to allow the public to submit the information electronically and sign it electronically as well. This is part and parcel focus of the recent executive order on customer experience, but it was in our digital modernization strategy as well. To improve service, we're currently in the process of implementing modern customer relationship management software, so that we know, the customer's history with us, how many times they visited or called, what the most recent transaction that they completed was, and what actions are pending in the future that will need to be completed. We also keep pace with security. It's a constantly evolving threat landscape, and federal guidance is changing based on adaptation of technology and known vulnerabilities. So we're going to advance in our next phase of modernization, the implementation of our zero trust architecture. And then finally, we're going to continue to chip away at that technical debt, those older systems that are still stable and functioning, but they cost a little bit more to maintain, and they're not as flexible as modern technology. So we're going to migrate them to more modern code and more modern computing platforms. We have begun to implement modern claims intake and adjudication software, and we're going to finish that in our next phase of modernization. And then specifically for the public who's listening, in the coming months, the public will be able to see more workloads conducted by video interviews to complete Social Security business. We're going to be launching this spring a redesigned Social Security website, and then a new digital service to allow the public to express interest in filing for benefits. So those will provide, convenience and responsiveness to the public.
Definitely. And going back to what you brought up about customer experience, that whole modernization journey really just plays into that customer experience journey, and having it be kind of a directive from like the president's management agenda to have it so focused on that level. How do you see this kind of persistent buy-in from top leadership around CX impacting how you approach your systems and technology, for the long term?
Right. We're a central player in the customer experience arena at the federal level. For many Americans, the federal organizations they interact with most frequently are the post office and the Social Security office. And for that reason, we often say that we are the face of government. And the recent executive order that you mentioned directs all federal agencies to put people at the center of everything government does. To remember at the end of each transaction is a person who has a need, and that it's our job to give them the correct answer as timely and quickly as we can, with as little burden on them as possible. So the objective, as we see it for the executive order, as stated in that document, is to reduce the burden on the public and to improve trust in the service provided by the Social Security Administration. Ultimately, our vision is to reimagine our business practices and to leverage modern technology to reduce the burden for accessing Social Security benefits and services. So, people should wait less in line or on the phone for an answer. They should be able to find information conveniently at the time of their choosing. Oftentimes, we find that more than half of the people who visit our website, www.socialsecurity.gov, visit that location by a smartphone or a tablet. So we need to be providing information that's conducive to being completed on a smartphone or a tablet, because that's how the public is expecting to get the information. The executive order provides a significant opportunity to really transform how we do business and to move away from those brick and mortar interactions to self-service on a digital channel. We will continue to have options for folks to visit our local field offices and to conduct disability hearings in person at a hearing office if they choose to do so. And some members of the public do have urgent, dire needs that they need to, get in and speak to someone right away, or, have barriers to service. Maybe, they don't have high-speed internet access or access to a smartphone. For those folks, we're going to continue to be available in person and by phone. And then for those who are, willing and able to conduct self-service, they will have options for modern digital service online and accessible by their smartphone. We have found, Amy, during the recent 2 years that the pandemic has accelerated the public's adoption of digital self-service. In the before pandemic, we were hovering around 52% of claims submitted online. And now, in the most recent month, we're, around 64% of claims submitted online, and that's gone as high as 67%. So we, have to be responsive to what the public expects. And I think the recent executive order provides good guidance to us on, how to improve service.
And that's only going to continue to grow. I didn't realize that statistic, though. I knew more people were going to digital services, but to see it at SSA going, jumping 10%, that's amazing.
Just to give you a little sense on that. So most of our secure digital services require a My Social Security account. Over 60 million Americans have My Social Security account, and that is growing rapidly. For the last 2 months, we've had more than 1 million people each month register for an account. That's not, uncommon. In January, a lot of people do file for retirement benefits. And then, before they file, they usually like to check, what am I eligible to receive? What would be the amount of my benefit? So now we allow them to go on and view their personal Social Security statement with a personalized benefit estimate, and they can, run different scenarios of retiring at different points in time with different future earnings, and really get a precise, estimate of what their Social Security benefit will be. And that has, I think, helped to fuel that growth in online claims filing.
Definitely. So thinking of all these new services that you're putting out, or I guess not new services, but new interfaces of how the public would communicate with the agency, what does incorporating automation technology mean for those efforts and for the public it serves?
Well, technology and automated workflows are really mission critical for Social Security. All of our transactions rely on automated data processing to ensure that we answer correctly and accurately and have a record of it, and can report accurately relative to future transactions. Our reliance on technology, as I stated earlier, it's just grown over the years. Technology allows us to be, not only more accurate in service, but quicker in response and more personalized in the information that we share. And technology, does have a life cycle. When it's new and exciting, we're adding things and putting new software on our network. But once it's there, we have to operate it, maintain it, and then every good piece of technology evolves. Gets to another version or another product. And so part of our job in the IT department at Social Security is make sure that we're not only adding stuff new, but that we're managing the old stuff so that we take it out of use before it becomes end of life and no longer functional. And this is important not only for maintaining continuity of service, but it's also important to meet our stewardship responsibilities to be a good value for the taxpayer, and also important to maintain our security of our IT applications and infrastructure. I have to tell you, when I look at the whole picture, Amy, I'm very optimistic. The pandemic has taught us a great amount of resiliency. We've been innovative in our adoption of new technology, and in spite of the major disruptions to our field services, we've continued our core mission work and continued to modernize over the last several years.
Well, Sean, this has been a great look into some of the efforts that you've been working on over the past several years and then what's to come ahead. So I really appreciate you sharing these perspectives, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of your shop next.
Thank you, Amy, and it's been a pleasure talking with you.
GovCast, along with Cybercast and HealthCast, is a production of GovCIO Media and Research. For more podcasts and to check out the other shows, head to govciomedia.com. Watch out for new episodes released every Tuesday and Wednesday across our shows. You can follow all of them in your favorite podcast platform, and if you like what you heard, make sure to let us know by leaving a review. And if you have any topics you think we should look into, contact us at newsletter@gcio.com.